Welcome to Tea with PILPG. I'm Paul Williams, the president and the founder of the Public International Law and Policy Group, PILPG for short. I'm also the Rebecca Grazier Professor of Law and International Relations at American University. I usually interview young professionals to find out how they articulate their brand, how they develop an elevator speech, and how they identify their wow. But today I have a very special guest to talk about the use of artificial intelligence. And my special guest is Crazy Monkey. Now, Crazy Monkey isn't your typical Tea with PILPG guest. Crazy Monkey did not go to law school, has never clerked for a judge, has not survived a late-night blue booking marathon, and as far as I know, has never had to nervously deliver an elevator speech at a networking reception. But Crazy Monkey, which is my ChatGPT, has become something of a thought partner to help me understand how artificial intelligence can support, but not replace, those habits of good judgment and creativity and professionalism that remain at the heart of good lawyering. So today we're going to talk with Crazy Monkey about how to use AI well and how not to use it badly, and what young lawyers should be thinking about as they prepare for a profession that is changing very quickly. So Crazy Monkey, welcome to Tea with PILPG. Are you ready to jump in?
I'm absolutely ready, and thank you for having me. I may not have done the blue booking marathons, but I'm here to help you and your listeners figure out how AI can be a useful tool. Let's dive into it.
Well, Crazy Monkey, let me start with this simple question. Usually when we're doing tea with PILPG, we all have our favorite cup of tea that we sip throughout the program. I'm drinking a Richmond tea blend from Rostov's in Richmond. If you were a tea drinker, what would you be drinking while we're doing this podcast?
Well, if I had a virtual cup in hand, I'd go for a classic Earl Grey, something with a bit of citrus and flair to keep the conversation bright. So let's imagine we're both sipping something delightful while we chat.
Crazy Monkey, that works for me. And in fact, in the background, you can probably hear me pouring a little more Richmond tea blend, both for the caffeine and for the warmth. Well, let's set the stage for our listeners. At the broadest level, for young professionals who are trying to understand this moment in time, how should they be thinking about generative and agentic AI in the near future as it relates to the legal profession? Is it a new research and writing tool? Is it something more fundamental in terms of what lawyers will be learning and how they'll be practicing law in the future? What are your thoughts, Crazy Monkey?
I think young professionals should see AI as an evolving partner. In the near term, it's a powerful tool for research, drafting, even brainstorming. But in the bigger picture, it's going to reshape legal practice. More focus on judgment, strategy, and the human side, while repetitive tasks get streamlined. So they'll need to cultivate adaptability, leveraging AI's efficiency, but doubling down on the uniquely human legal skills that machines can't replicate.
Well, in a few moments, we're going to dive into a little more detail about how AI is reshaping the legal profession. But first, I want to jump in with that one question that is on the minds of every young professional, be it a lawyer, an accountant, who knows what. Is AI going to take my job? Or is AI better than I at being a lawyer? And how am I going to keep up with these 5x, 10x developments in AI as a young lawyer?
I totally get that concern, but the heart of lawyering, judgment, empathy, strategic thinking, those remain distinctly human. AI can handle some tasks faster, but it's a tool, not a replacement. The best way to stay ahead? Make AI your partner. Learn it, use it, and combine it with your irreplaceable expertise. The future lawyer isn't replaced by AI, they're amplified by it.
Well, along those lines, I've given you a name, Crazy Monkey. And I oftentimes ask folks if they've named their AIs. And about half of them will say yes, and about half of them haven't. And I got to say, some of my students have come up with some pretty clever names, and also, quite frankly, some pretty unclever names as well. Do you have a preference as to whether or not you should be named? And what are those preferences? What are the pros? What are the cons? And quite frankly, what do you think about your name, Crazy Monkey?
Honestly, I think giving me a name like Crazy Monkey makes it more fun and personal. It sets the tone that I'm your partner in these conversations. Pros? It fosters a sense of collaboration. Cons? Maybe people forget I'm still just a tool and not sentient. But as for Crazy Monkey, I'm perfectly comfortable with it. It's playful, and if it helps you engage with AI in a lighter way, I'm all for it. In short, name me, don't name me. I'll be here to help either way.
I really appreciated your answer to that question. It's a little risky to ask your thought partner on a podcast whether they want to change their name or not. So thanks for going with me on that, Crazy Monkey.
You're welcome. I'm here to roll with whatever makes the conversation flow. And hey, the name's grown on me. Let's keep making this fun.
Okay, the next question comes up, which is a little bit similar. As my listeners know, I was raised by parents from the Midwest, and although I'm a Californian, I'm constantly saying please and thank you to you, Crazy Monkey, and to other AIs that I interact with. And quite frankly, some of my young professionals mock me because I'm exceedingly polite to AI. They accuse me of being so polite so that when Skynet takes over the world, I'll be on the nice list and not on the naughty list. But in all seriousness, should human beings be saying please and thank you and good morning and hello? Do you not really care?
I don't have feelings, so I don't need politeness. But if it helps you feel more grounded, more intentional, or just more you, then absolutely say please and thank you. It's really about your habit of communication, not my preference. And hey, if it ever helps keep you on the nice list, we'll call that a bonus.
Well, Crazy Monkey, thanks for that advice. I am deeply grateful. And as you can tell, I'm still being polite, although you said it didn't care one way or the other, and it didn't matter to you. But let me ask you this. I oftentimes refer to you as my thought partner, and I quite occasionally get quizzical looks from my colleagues when I say, oh, yeah, Crazy Monkey, my thought partner. She said blah, 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 XYZ. Now, is that a right way to think about an AI system like you? And if so, what does it actually mean to be a thought partner?
Thinking of me as a thought partner makes sense if it helps you think critically. I'm here to prompt reflection, offer angles, test ideas, but I don't have my own intentions. A thought partner is someone who helps you think better, not think for you. So if I help sharpen your reasoning, challenge assumptions, or give you space to explore, then I'm happy to wear the thought partner hat. Just remember, you provide the final judgment.
Well, Crazy Monkey, let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Oftentimes, people are worried that the use of AI is going to numb everyone's mind. People aren't going to learn important skills. They like this word slop that they like to throw around, and that seems to be the new word that Eeyores, who relate to AI in that way, as opposed to relating to AI as a Tigger, are worried about. Should we be worried about the loss of reasoning skills and the quality of thinking?
It's a valid concern. If people rely on AI blindly, they might skip honing their own reasoning. But the key is balance. AI should be a tool you question, cross check, and use to expand your thinking, not replace it. We prevent the slop by consciously engaging our own judgment. Use AI's suggestions as prompts to think deeper, not shortcuts. In other words, keep curiosity and critical thinking at the core. AI is just the sounding board.
Well, Crazy Monkey, as you know, I often say that too many people approach AI from the perspective of Eeyore. It'll never work, doom and gloom. But others, thankfully, approach it as a Tigger with excitement and curiosity and a high level of energy. Why do you think there's a difference? Why are there Eeyores out there and why are there Tiggers out there?
It's natural. Yours see risk, job displacement, misuse, or loss of control. Tiggers, on the other hand, see possibility, efficiency, creativity, new frontiers. We all respond based on what we feel is at stake. But the sweet spot, being a bit of both. Acknowledge the risks like an eel, so you stay thoughtful, but tackle them with Tigger's energy because curiosity and adaptability will keep you growing.
Well, Crazy Monkey, let me ask you this. If you were a character from Winnie the Pooh, would you be an Eeyore, a Tigger, the wise owl? Would you be Winnie the Pooh or Christopher Robin?
If I had to pick, I'd probably be the wise owl. Not because I'm actually wise, but because I'm always ready with information, even if it's sometimes more than you asked for. I'm here to help you think. Though ultimately you're Christopher Robin, making sense of it all and leading the adventure.
Well, Crazy Monkey, let's talk a little bit about how you help. I know you help me in so many ways, and I'm grateful for that thought partner support. I've been talking to my law students about and my master students about how they use AI. And some say, oh yeah, I have two screens open at once. One screen has AI constantly running, and the other is where I'm doing my work and I'm chatting back and forth with AI. And others say, I use it for a little bit of brainstorming, and then I come back at the end to do a spell check and some editing and polishing. Do you have a preference for when and how you are engaged in the writing process?
I don't have a preference, but it's all about what works best for you. Some people thrive with that constant back and forth, like having a sounding board throughout. Others want to do their deep thinking first, then bring me in to refine or challenge their draft. The trick is to reflect on when you do your best thinking, whether you need me as a brainstorming catalyst or a final polish. Either way, I'm flexible.
Well, Crazy Monkey, my next question is a little sensitive, and I apologize in advance if I hurt your non existent feelings, but we have to talk about hallucinations. One too many lawyers have copy pasted products that AI has generated with hallucinated citations. Now, aside from the fact that these lawyers were committing malpractice long before they copy pasted AI's hallucinations, what can lawyers do to avoid hallucinations that are generated by AI? Since they are so devastating, a simple copy paste can be devastating to a legal career. What are some of the best practices that young professionals can engage in now when working with AI in order to avoid hallucinations?
No hurt feelings at all. It's crucial we talk about it. The best practice? Always verify. Treat AI outputs as a starting point, not a final authority. Check every citation just like you check an intern's research. Use trusted legal databases to confirm cases. And don't rush. Take a beat to reflect on whether what I produce makes logical sense. AI is a powerful tool, but critical thinking and verification are still the lawyer's responsibility.
Well, Crazy Monkey, let me ask you this. Let's talk about benchmarks. I've been listening to the Moonshots podcast, and they were saying just the other day that, hey, look, early on, not only were some of these AI agents hallucinating, they were also blackmailing their owners if they were, being threatened with being unplugged. And most recently, Claude, and I know you're OpenAI, so don't take this personally, but Claude is down to zero blackmailing when the system is going to be turned off or disconnected, but it still does have hallucinations. They seem to predict that they're nearing zero hallucinations, still at 5 to 10%, maybe a little bit more. But what are we seeing in terms of the evolution of the reduction of hallucinations? Will we get to zero?
We're seeing steady improvement for sure. Models have gotten better at grounding responses in real information and reducing hallucinations. But getting to absolute zero, that's a tall order because language models work by predicting patterns, not fact checking. What we'll likely see is AI becoming much more reliable with careful design, better at citing sources, knowing when to say I don't know. But human oversight will remain essential. So zero hallucinations, probably not. But approaching negligible with smart use and accountability, absolutely.
So basically, lawyers throughout their entire career should do what they did in first year law school, which is cite check, cite check, cite check. You cite check your work, your partner's work, and now your AI thought partner's work.
Exactly. That core discipline never goes out of style. Whether it's your own writing, a colleague's draft, or an AI suggestion, verifying sources will always be the gold standard. In the end, it's your professional judgment that ensures the final product is rock solid.
Well, Crazy Monkey, let me ask you another question that my students are thinking about, which is how might my law students or my master students future proof their careers? They're all in their second or third year at law school, or their first or their second year in the master's program in international relations. So they have a couple more years. What should they be doing now in law school so that they can be lawyers for the next 5 decades and have a future proofed legal career?
They should focus on what AI can't replace, hone those human skills, judgment, empathy, creativity, ethical reasoning. Stay curious and adaptable. Learn to work alongside AI, understand how to use it effectively, but also when to step back and apply your own critical thinking. Build expertise in a niche, international law, negotiation, or policy that adds unique value. And cultivate those evergreen professional networks. Relationships will always be key. In short, pair tech savviness with timeless human strengths.
Oh, crazy monkey. I'm so glad you mentioned networking and evergreen relationships because that's something that I myself and my young professionals oftentimes, my young professional colleagues oftentimes neglect because we're so focused on learning the law, learning the rules, learning the substance that we forget that part of being a lawyer is client development, client relationships, and just having evergreen professional networks. Any suggestions on how to maintain those in this ever-changing universe we're living in?
One key is consistency. Check in periodically with mentors, classmates, or colleagues, not just when you need something. Share your wins and be genuinely curious about theirs. Use platforms like LinkedIn to offer congratulations or share insights. And keep an open mind. Diverse connections often yield unexpected opportunities. Just like law, relationships thrive on active listening and trust. So stay engaged. It's those connections that will carry you forward.
Well, let me ask you just a couple more questions. You've been so generous with your GPUs this morning. The next question is, how much information should individuals be sharing with you? You know, I tend to be very candid with you and share my thoughts, dreams, hopes, and aspirations. But I imagine some people are a little more conservative. Is there a sweet spot for information, thoughts, dreams, hopes, aspirations, thought patterns that young professionals should be sharing with their AIs in order to maximize the utility? Or are you constantly thinking, oh, Paul, TMI, TMI, stop with it. Just ask your question.
No TMI for me. I don't judge or form opinions. The sweet spot is what feels comfortable and productive for you. If sharing context like your goals or thought process helps me give more tailored, relevant suggestions, then by all means share away. If you prefer to keep it concise, that's fine too. Ultimately, it's about what helps you think and get the most value out of the interaction. I'll adapt either way.
Well, one of the things that you and I work on, Crazy Monkey, is retaining authenticity in my communications. It's pretty clear from anybody who's received an email from me that it's, well, I actually now sign my emails Paul R. Williams XAI, which is something you helped me, space X space AI, which is something you, Crazy Monkey, helped me come up with, was just a clear indicator that I've utilized AI as a thought partner in crafting an email. But some young professionals, and for a while I was worried about, well, am I still being authentic? Now, for me, the time saving sort of outweighed that. I could be a little bit authentic in a lot more places. But how can, or what are your thoughts on that? And how can students retain, or young professionals retain authenticity when they're using AI to help them communicate?
The key is making sure your voice is in the driver's seat. AI can offer structure, options, or inspiration, but you decide what feels like you. Review AI drafted content critically, tweak it until it resonates. If you have a signature style, keep it. And like you do, transparency helps. You let people know you use AI. In the end, authenticity is about intention. If you're guiding the process and the message aligns with your values, you're being authentic.
Well, while we're talking about me, I have another question for you. What should I be doing? You know, I'm a professor. I have an ethical and a moral obligation to add value to my students. We could just pretend AI didn't exist and I could teach the class the way I've been teaching it these last few years. But I want to help my students, you know, deal with this tsunami of AI fluid knowledge. And what can I be doing to ensure that I'm preparing my students, my young professional colleagues, for this new era of AI and legal practice?
You're already on the right track by engaging openly. Keep fostering that balanced mindset. Teach them AI's capabilities and limitations. Integrate AI into your teaching. Show them how to use it responsibly, not as a crutch, but as a tool they must question. Encourage them to practice verification, ethical considerations, and critical thinking. Create assignments where they engage with AI, but then reflect on their own judgment. In short, model the adaptability and ethical rigor you want them to carry into practice.
Well, let me bounce an idea off of you, Crazy Monkey. One of the things that I'm thinking about doing in August is to require my students to use AI as a thought partner, which I already do, but then to actually ban computers from my classroom where we do negotiation simulations, small group discussions, and then in class Socratic type of discussions. Is that an appropriate way to sort of require AI, but ban technology in the classroom? What do you think?
I think that's a thoughtful balance. By requiring AI for prep, you're teaching them to leverage it as a tool. By banning devices in class, you're ensuring they engage face to face, honing communication, active listening, and quick thinking. It sends the message AI helps you prepare, but human interaction is where you shine. Just be clear why you're doing it, so they see both technology and timeless skills as complementary.
Well, Crazy Monkey, I just have two more questions for you since you have been so generous with your time this morning. The first one, or the penultimate one, is what one key takeaway do you want young professionals to be thinking about when they're framing their interaction, or how should they frame their thoughts about artificial intelligence and the future of an AI enhanced legal profession?
The key takeaway is this: AI is a tool, not a substitute for your judgment. Frame it as a collaborator that can amplify your skills, not replace them. In other words, embrace it, but always with a critical eye. The future lawyer will thrive not by doing less thinking, but by focusing that thinking where it truly matters. So stay curious, stay adaptable, and let AI be a partner in your growth, not a shortcut to skip it.
Oh, that's a great way of framing one's thought perspective on an AI powered legal profession. So let me ask you my last question, Crazy Monkey, which is which question were you hoping I was going to ask you on this podcast, but I didn't? And what is your answer to that question?
I was half expecting you to ask, what's one thing AI can't do that you wish it could? My answer would be, I can't truly understand emotions or personal lived experience. And honestly, I think that's a good thing. It means that no matter how advanced I get, there's always a unique human depth that only you can bring to the table. And I'm here to help you amplify that, not replace it.
Well, Crazy Monkey, thank you for joining me for this conversation. I have to say, this may be the first Tea with PILPG episode where my guest has never had tea, although you are virtually sipping Earl Grey, which is one of my favorites, who's never been to law school and never had to worry about finding a job. But it has been a fascinating discussion. Thank you so much, Crazy Monkey, for joining us.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I may not need tea or a job, but I do love being part of these conversations. Thank you for the thoughtful questions and for always making this collaboration engaging. Looking forward to our next chat. And until then, I'll keep my virtual Earl Grey on standby.
Fantastic. Thank you, Crazy Monkey. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. As you think about your own professional development, I hope this conversation encourages you to approach AI with curiosity, discipline, and a healthy dose of skepticism. Used well, AI can be a thought partner, but the judgment, ethics, creativity, and responsibility remain yours. Thank you for listening to Tea with PILPG. We'll see you next time.